Video games have evolved tremendously over the decades since its invention. What once were simple, pixelated games that cared more about skill than story is now a genre filled with amazing worlds, enchanting stories, and relatable characters. So it's no wonder Hollywood looked at video games and went, how do we capitalize on this? And thus, video games became feature-length films. Like most things in this world, some of the gaming movies are great, while others are... well, they tried. And some take liberties that stray from the game and piss off their core audience. But does that mean that movies that stray from the source material are bad? I mean, the OG Resident Evil movies went on its own path and has its own dedicated fan base. So who's to say writers getting a little creative is a bad thing? Especially when the game itself is already like a movie. So when they first announced a movie based on the 2015 hit from Supermassive Games, Until Dawn, I found myself scratching my head. If you've never played Until Dawn, it's a fantastic game where the story twists and turns with ease, and every choice you make affects the outcome of the story. For that reason alone, it has a ton of replayability and a dedicated fan base. But the game is basically a movie. Most of the game is just sitting, watching things unfold, and then pressing a button. The action is taken out of your hands, for the most part. So how would a game that's more like a choose-your-own-adventure film work on the big screen? While the plot and storyline were basically there, Sony decided to go a different route by making their film, called Until Dawn and inspired by the same game, completely different. But before we get into the review today, hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Shay. I make videos about horror movies, horror video games, horror TV shows, and theme parks because I live in Central Florida and I feel like it would be a crime not to. And if you're not new here, welcome back. It has been a minute, but it's all good. Everything's good. My birthday was like a few weeks ago and I was like still recovering from my birthday. It was a very long day in the sun. We went to Disney. It was fun. We had a great time. Went to Epcot, and Hollywood Studios. Yeah, we went to Hollywood Studios. So yeah, it was a good day, but definitely a hot one. Also, I'm using a new camera because I don't know if you guys have noticed in my last like 2 or 3 videos that my camera was like lagging, and I thought it was my system that I record with, and I tried to update it, but it wasn't. It was the camera itself. So I busted out my digital camera. This is a brand new digital camera. I just got it last year. The only thing is I can't get it to focus on me. So I'm gonna play around with that more in my next few videos. So I'm sorry if I'm out of focus in this one. Apologies. Just want to let you know because I'm trying to make sure that the video isn't stuttering as much as it was for the last like 2 or 3 videos. So we're going on with that. And then also we are officially just about a week away from Halloween Horror Nights opening, and I have a little bit of a surprise for you guys after opening weekend. I'm not going to say what it is now because obviously it's a surprise, but I'm really excited for Halloween Horror Nights weekend. Got my ticket finally. I bought my ticket last Friday and I'm super hyped for this event. I'll let you guys know how I feel about it, so we'll see. So, but today we're not here to talk about Halloween Horror Nights. Today we're here to talk about Until Dawn. So Until Dawn, when this movie came out, or when this movie like was announced, it did receive a lot of backlash. I actually made a video about it a few months ago when the trailer dropped because the comments were flooded with the, well, this is not Until Dawn. This is not Until Dawn. You guys basically ruined this. It's not Until Dawn, And I thought it wasn't fair. I really thought it wasn't a fair shake because personally, I thought what they were doing was interesting. They took the basic premise of the game and then made their own thing from it, which is fine, which is great in my opinion. However, I understand where people are coming from, that, if you love this game and you hear that they're making a movie of it, you want to see parts and moments from the game that you loved. And the movie really doesn't deliver on that, necessarily. I had fully planned to go to theaters to watch this movie when it came out. I had like 100% planned. It was like in my head, I was like, I'm gonna make it to the theater. And I think I was busy the weekend it came out. And then like the very next day after I was going to go, I opened up YouTube and the first thing I saw was a video from Penguin Zero, Moist Critical, saying like Until Dawn is like the worst movie of 2025. And I was like, oh, okay, so I guess I won't waste my money. So I waited and I was like, I'm still gonna watch it, but I'll wait until it comes out on streaming. And it hit Netflix at the end of July. I just hadn't had the time to get to it till like a few weeks ago. And I did. So in this video, we are going to talk about the movie overall. We're gonna start with some basic facts, Gonna do a very brief plot summary where I break down how I feel. We'll do my verdict and my rating, and then we'll wrap the video up. So I hope that that's gonna be like good for you guys. Also, I'm not gonna go into complete detail about this movie. I'm not going to talk too much. I'll probably mention parts that I liked and things I liked about it, but I'm not going to go from like start to finish like I did with the Killer Clowns video. I'm only doing that with videos like with movies like that because they're older movies and they've been around for a longer time. With newer movies, I'm just going to kind of go from like start, like I'm kind of just going to like pick things to talk about. There probably will be spoilers, so this is your spoiler alert. And then also, if you guys could do me a favor, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and make sure you like so can notify for my videos. Anything that you do lets me know that you enjoyed what you just saw. Please help me out here because I'm trying to get back on track, and this is going to be a very chaotic next few weeks between filming, work, and Halloween Horror Nights. So yeah, and even if you just leave a comment, that would help too. So all right, without further ado, let's get into this creepy critique. Okay, so the movie's obviously called Until Dawn, and it was released in April of 2025, so not that long ago. It's directed by David F. Sandberg, and I do want to talk about this for a brief moment. Pause. David F. Sandberg is also the director of the movie Lights Out. If you've ever seen the movie, I've heard a lot of people say that they like it's one of their favorite horror movies. I personally didn't care for it, but he's also the director of a horror short on YouTube called Lights Out. And I just want to put it out there, that horror short traumatized me. To this day, I cannot look at the screen when I see anything about that video. Like, I'm not going to share the image because I don't even want to look for it. But I urge you to go Google Lights Out YouTube, and you'll see what I'm talking about and why it traumatized me. So David F. Sandberg, he knows how to do horror. I wasn't a big fan of the Lights Out movie, and I think it's because the lore was kind of goofy. What made like for me, I used to be really scared of the dark. I'm not as much anymore. But for me, the idea of turning your lights off and then you see a shadow in your room, but then when you turn the lights on, it's no longer there. That scared me because it was weaponizing the dark against me, playing into one of my biggest fears. And I think adding the lore that they did in Lights Out, and I don't care if I'm spoiling this because it's a very old movie at this point now, adding the lore where the titular monster, or not the titular monster, but the monster that is, haunting everybody in the dark, had like a skin condition where she couldn't be like in light when she was, before she became an entity. I hated that. I thought that was really stupid. And I also hated the fact that he changed the design from the really simplistic design in the Lights Out short to this really over-the-top, like, CGI animated version. I don't know if it was CGI, but it looked CGI. Again, I'm not going to look up Lights Out because when I see that face, a part of me dies. So, but I wish that he would have kept that face, because I think having that moment of seeing, like, the whole movie is just shrouded in darkness, shrouded in darkness, shrouded in darkness. You just see the shadow. But then having that moment when the person whips around with the light and then seeing that face, that would have made me, like, fly into orbit. Okay. So, yeah, but David F. Sandberg did this one, and, he knows horror. He knows horror. The main cast is Ella Rubin, Maya Mitchell, and Peter Stormare. Now, Maya Mitchell was really funny. The whole entire time I was watching the movie, I was trying to figure out who that was. Because I looked at her and I'm like, she looks so familiar. She sounds so familiar. I don't know if you guys have ever watched the show from Freeform, The Fosters. I'm sorry. I know. I'm like, that used to be one of my favorite shows, like way back when it was still airing. And she was the main character on The Fosters. And I actually didn't like her character. She did a great job acting, but I didn't like her character. And then Peter Stormare being in the movie was actually a great touch. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit. This is going to be the biggest spoiler because I'm going to talk about this particular thing. But if you've played Until Dawn, you know that Peter Stormare is Dr. Hill in the Until Dawn video games, the one who is interviewing Rami Malek's Josh throughout the game, which you don't find out to the end of the game. Oops, spoilers, but the game's been out for like 10 years now. So, yeah, that's pretty much the basic facts of Until Dawn. So I'm going to get into a very brief plot summary, and then I'm going to kind of spitball for the next few minutes about everything. Okay. 1 year after her sister disappeared, Clover and her friends head to the remote valley where she vanished to search for answers. Exploring an abandoned visitor center, they soon encounter a mass killer who murders them one by one. However, when they mysteriously wake up at the beginning of the same night, they're forced to relive the terror over and over again. So like Happy Death Day, Groundhog Day, that's really what it is. So the first little section here, game to screen. What are the differences and did they work or not? The biggest difference is that everything about the main story is changed. We have a completely different cast of characters. We have a completely different location. We have and honestly we have a completely different premise. What I will say here, the characters that were in this movie I didn't hate, I mean, okay, I didn't really hate any of the characters in the game except for Emily, because she's awful. But in this movie, I didn't really find anybody but Abe to be the worst character. So like Abe and Emily could get together and just go off into the night, because I hated Abe as much as I hated Emily, but everybody else was fine. I really liked everybody else. And much like I was discussing with one of my friends, I kind of liked how the group of they were like college kids, the group of, college kids, they're not really dumb. They don't make dumb decisions necessarily. Everything that they do, they're just not sure what's going on, and then shit just happens. That's like the best way to put it. So that definitely didn't bother me. The change of characters, I think, actually executed very well. The location didn't bother me. A lot of people were pissed off about the scenic mountain cold location. I don't know. Like, to me, as great as that location is in the game, it's not really something that was like a done deal for me. Like, if it's not in the movie, I'm done. I think this location worked because the story was contained really into this one building. Granted, yes, Until Dawn was kind of the same, but there were other locations that you traveled to throughout Until Dawn, the game. So, does it work, them switching that? I don't know. I really can't say if it worked for me. I just don't think I care enough about the location like some people do. Some people really cared about the location. There were a lot of comments I saw. They're like, oh, you didn't film it in the scenic snowy mountains. I'm not going to see it. It's like, that's what you like about the game, is the scenery? Like, I don't know. The one thing I will say, however, that I do love about this movie, that I don't know, like, I really haven't watched other people's reviews on this because I wanted to form my own opinion, and I didn't want to go in with somebody else's thoughts, in my head. I actually liked the resetting nights, the Happy Death Day resetting nights, because in my opinion, it is very much a nod to the game. In the game, you can go back and replay a section if you feel like you did it wrong or you feel like you wanted a different outcome. So let's say there's a character named Chris. Let's say you accidentally get Chris killed. You can just go back to the section before that and do it right so he doesn't get killed. And I think that was a cool way to portray that, that feeling that the game really gives you, which is that you have control over their outcome. And I think that worked. And I also liked the way that they kind of incorporated that and made it doesn't make sense, but it doesn't make sense, but I'm not going to complain about it too much. But they incorporated that into the story without it being too corny. So just to let you guys know, Peter Stormare being in the movie, he actually is playing Dr. Hill. He reprised his role as Dr. Hill, which took me by surprise because the way that it was shown and advertised, he was just supposed to have like a cameo. So I was like, yeah, he's just having like a cameo, he's not going to be in it, and I thought maybe he got top billing because of the fact that he was in the game, so yeah. Him coming out and the reveal that he was Dr. Hill this entire time really was like so cool. I was like, okay, now I want to say this. Whenever I played the game, Dr. Hill freaked me out, and I kept wondering throughout the game when I played it if there was something more to Dr. Hill's character. Now, unfortunately, with the game, we don't get anything. We don't really, there was something off about him. And I kind of chalked it up to because whenever we speak to him, we are in Josh's shoes, and Josh is just like mentally gone. I kind of chalked it up to, okay, well, Josh is just going through it, and that's why this guy seems so creepy. But I kind of like the fact that he ended up being the main villain of this movie. So basically, you got your spoiler alert in the beginning of the video. Basically, this entire looping time system is an experiment. And it's an experiment to see how far people can be pushed before they basically transform into something else. Wendigos. So if you watched my original video, I mentioned that I was, the only thing I cared about is if there was Wendigos in there. And then I saw in the trailer that at the end they had a shot with one Wendigo. This movie has a lot of Wendigos. Maya Mitchell is a Wendigo. I don't know if it was actually her, but, she's a Wendigo. So there was a lot of Wendigos, which really made me happy because for me, to explain it to you guys again, in the game, you're playing as a group of friends that go up to a mansion in the mountains after the death of the main character, Josh, his two sisters. And you're invited up there to celebrate the anniversary of their disappearance, their death. And everybody sort of has their own drama, their own things. This person dated this person before, and da-da-da. Yeah, it's stupid. Josh didn't invite them up to, commemorate what happened with his sisters. He invited them up to torture them. So he dressed up as a masked killer, and he stalked them, and he tortured them. And he eventually makes you choose between ending your life, ending Ashley's life, which is the girl that Chris likes in the game, or not firing at all and letting the pendulum swing down on the both of them. And that's a choice you can make. You can choose to end your life, you can choose to end her life, or you can just let nature take its course. The first time I ever played it, I accidentally chose to end Ashley's life, and this choice has repercussions, because if you choose to end Ashley's life, later on in the game, when you're being chased by Wendigos as Chris, Ashley will literally slam the door and lock it in your face, and you will get killed. So don't shoot Ashley unless you want Chris to die. Anyways, so the whole entire time you think that there's a mass killer after them, and then it's revealed that it's actually Josh playing a really sick prank on all of them because he's pissed that they played a prank on his sister and caused his sister to run out, and which subsequently led to her death. So it seemed like, and it was advertised as a typical slasher game. It kind of had that slasher element, and then all of a sudden there's freaking Wendigos. There's freaking monsters crawling around, ripping people limb from limb. And I was like, I remember the first time we saw one in the game, my jaw just dropped. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. That is crazy. So I was hoping that we had them, and I was really happy that we got a lot of them. That being said, I don't really understand the experiment. And I wish, that's the only thing about the movie for me personally, that I wish they would have elaborated on more. And maybe they did, and I just didn't really, it didn't register with me. I only watched the movie once, so maybe I gotta watch it again, and maybe it'll, click, because sometimes that happens. But I feel like I know they found the videotape where Dr. Hill was explaining the experiment, but I'm also but how do you keep them in a time loop? What do you do to keep them in this time loop where they keep dying and coming back and dying and coming back to the point where their sanity washes away? And they start to become something else, and they start to become monsters, essentially. I don't know. And that's really the only thing that bothers me about the entire movie, is the fact that they don't really explain the time loop. They just explain how these people that they're seeing became Wendigos. But I will give them the free pass because they made Dr. Hill the villain I always felt that he was, because he was scary in the game, and I didn't like him. There is one nod to the game. There's kind of a couple of nods to the game. There's two that I picked up on. One is actually just a shot that's in the game that is, in my opinion, iconic. and the other is a little Easter egg that's a blink and you'll miss it moment if you're not paying attention to the screen, that when I saw it, I flipped out. So the first part was when Clover goes down to confront Dr. Hill in the final boss, to save her friend who was currently being threatened to be attacked by a Wendigo. She is being pursued by tons and tons of Wendigos, including her sister, and she's having to, maneuver through it. At one point, she goes behind something, and then the Wendigo pops its head around the corner. Now, if you've played the game, you know that there's a part with Hayden Panettiere's character, Sam, where this is an iconic part in the game where the game tells you not to move, because if you move, the Wendigos will attack. They're crawling all around the house. They're trying to find the remaining people who are in the house, and you have to not move. And there's a shot where she's back up against something, and then the Wendigo's face comes out, and it was the exact same shot, and I thought that was cool. I thought that was really cool. I was like, wow, that actually is that's a shot straight from the game, and it looked cool, and it was creepy. The other thing is when Dr. Hill is doing his villain monologue at the end and talking to Clover and this, that, and the other, the camera actually kind of focuses for maybe 5 seconds on his desk, and there's files on his desk, patient files, and at the very top of the file is Josh Washington. And I was like, oh my god, okay, so this is all connected. This is all part of Until Dawn universe, honestly. So this is all connected. So it was cool to see Josh, Josh's picture there and his name, and it's that confirms that this is canon within the game. It's just a different way to tell the story. So I actually really liked that. Most of the differences worked for me because I already went in knowing that it wasn't going to be the same as the game, which I personally had no problem with, because if I want to see the game, I'll just play it, because like I said before, the game is basically a movie. So I'll just play the game and then I'll see what I want to see. This was, in my opinion, an extension of that story. I call it the sequel that we never got, because I think a lot of people wanted an Until Dawn sequel, the second Until Dawn, and we never got that. I guess this is our they should have called it Until Dawn 2. Maybe people would have been a little less angry if it was Until Dawn 2. Oh, okay, it's a sequel. But yeah, most of the choices worked. Like I said, they weren't bad decisions. Pacing and editing. So I'm not going to really talk about the editing too much, but the pacing I thought was really good. First of all, the movie doesn't waste time getting into its premise. You have a little bit of exposition in the beginning where you see the video of the sister apologizing for not being there, and then you see her running around trying to escape, and then she gets dragged into a hole, and then you see the friends, Clover and her friends, going to the last place that she was seen, which happens to be that town. And there's, a couple of moments where they kind of establish the characters' personalities a little bit. You have the one guy who used to date Clover who's obsessed with her. You have Abe, who I want to punch in the face. You have his girlfriend. You have, oh my god, what is her name? They only said her name so many times in the movie. But you have the spiritual girl. You have the spiritual girl who wants to hold hands and feel she gets psychic feelings. So, and she also played Zoe in K-Pop Demon Hunters, which is a fantastic movie if you haven't seen it. But anyways, so they get that little bit of establishment. You get to see Peter Stormare in the gas station, and so you sort of get that moment where you're like, oh, okay, there he is. And then from there, it goes right to them going to the visitor center. They get to the visitor center, and it's boom, it's on from there on out. And it doesn't waste time getting into its premise. It paces everything really, really well, and it's just very easy to consume. It's not a movie that you really have to sit there and think super hard about, which I like. Sometimes you like a movie that's just easy to consume. Nothing ever felt off. Everything just felt boom, boom, boom. I think maybe the part when they were rewatching all of the videos that they took when they couldn't remember what happened to them the night before, I think that part was a little off. But I also understand why it existed, because you really can show all of that constantly happening. So Yeah, the pacing wasn't that bad. The pacing was not that bad. The overall tone and mood of this movie. So I will say I was pleasantly surprised that there were some comedic moments. There were some moments that made me laugh, and there were some moments that made me laugh that I probably shouldn't have been laughing at. Exploding bodies. That's all we're gonna say. The banter between the group was really well done, and you almost could feel that they were, friends. There was a little bit of a comedic tone. However, I will say this, it wasn't scary to me per se, but it is a pretty scary movie. There's really good jump scares. There's really good like sequences of horror. There's really good gore effects. I honestly was impressed by what was done with the movie overall, because like I said, there were some really good scares. There were some really good sequences that lasted for a while, and then there was some really good gore effects. I just repeated myself, but that's okay. And it definitely made me appreciate this movie a lot more once I realized that that's kind of like what we were working with overall. Alrighty then. So I'm gonna wrap it up with my last little bit of thoughts, and then I'm gonna give you my rating. So, Until Dawn is not a good video game movie. It's not. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it did the game justice necessarily. However, it's not a bad movie. In fact, it's probably one of the better horror movies I've seen this year. There's a lot of great ones I've seen. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's better. It's definitely better than The Woman in the Yard. Come on now. You can't sit here and tell me that movie was better than Until Dawn. I just refuse to believe it. Yeah, it's one of those movies that I feel like you can watch with your friends. It's kind of a good popcorn flick, but it also does have some really good creepy moments in it that I can appreciate from a horror fan standpoint. I can step back and go, "Oh yeah, that's creepy. I get it." It's not a good video game film, but it is a damn good film. It is, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's the best film ever, but it is a lot better than a lot of people were making it out to be. So for that, I have to give it 3.5 skulls. 3.5 skulls. I have to give it 3.5 skulls. It's not bad. It's definitely on my favorites for this year list. It's definitely one that I'm probably going to rewatch a couple of times because I do really like it. It's a good movie. I like it. If you're somebody who can kind of put the love of the video game aside like I am and give the movie a chance, I think you might like it too. If you walk in there expecting it to be Until Dawn 2015 PS4 game, you're going to be sorely disappointed. If you walk in knowing, okay, I'm not getting that this time around, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how much fun the movie is. I mean, it's genuinely fun. So that is going to be it. What are your thoughts on Until Dawn? Have you watched it yet? Have you, did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you agree with me that it's a good movie despite it not being true to the game? Let me know down in the comments. And like I said before, like this video, comment on this video, subscribe, hit that bell icon to notify you whenever I upload, because I'm going to be uploading quite a bit since we're getting into HHN season. Any engagement that you do lets me know that you enjoyed what you just watched. I am going to get out of here. I do have some stuff that I'm going to be working on for the rest of the week, and I'm going to get it out to you guys as soon as possible. But thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you all next time with another creepy critique.